Hey everybody! Welcome back to Everything Included. I'm Chef Zach. You may remember me from such videos as unpacking MREs and testing those out and shaving my face. Today we want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, sourdough. It's now day 40 Durka-do of stay-at-home restrictions, and a lot of my friends and family have reached out asking, hey, how do you make your bread? So, Dragon and I decided, let's play with this, and we're gonna do it. Right now I've got everything meased out for the most part to make my recipe, which I will include in this video. So let's get started. First off, things you'll need. Obviously a mixer, scale, bowl or whisk, spatula of some sort. We'll start off with scaling out first our sourdough starter. Helps if you have a digital kitchen scale. This recipe is measured out metrically, so I'm using grams. This is a nice, healthy, bubbly, fragrant starter here. And we're going to start off with scaling out 397 grams. Look at her, so bubbly and beautiful. Or maybe a little over. It's okay. Then into that, we're going to scale in our water, warm water. Generally, you want it between 105 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit or 41 to 46 degrees Celsius. So we're going to do 225 grams of warm water. Pull that up the scale. Give that a good whisk, really good. And all frothy and incorporated. Come back to the scale. Tear out. That means to go to zero is to tear. And then we're going to add 10 grams of honey. Just a little bit of sugar to get all my yeasty friends all happy and excited. Good. Remove the bowl from the scale. You don't want to do any whisking or heavy jousting around on the scale because you'll mess up your springs and throw off your calibration. Then once that's done, actually, I've got 680 grams of bread flour here, which I'll go ahead and just add the entire thing into this bowl now, along with my 6 grams of olive oil, also half a tablespoon, just want to measure by volume. Then we'll bring our bowl over to our mixer, lock the bowl in. Your handy dandy dough hook. Make sure it's on there securely. Bring your mixer down. Lock your arm into place. And right now we're just going to get everything incorporated. We're going to mix on low speed, not stir, but level 2 if it's KitchenAid. And we're just basically want to get everything combined until it starts to form a dough. So about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes is all we're going to do here. So the flour is starting to incorporate in, it's starting to meld together, form that soft dough. Kind of looks more like a biscuit consistency right now. And that's actually about where we want to let it stop and sit. So yeah, it was just over a minute or so. At this point, Grab yourself some handy dandy plastic wrap. We'll cover the bowl. And we're going to let that sit for about 5 minutes. And this is called autolyzing. Notice we have not added our salt yet. So what this is going to do is allow this dough and the yeast and whatnot to incorporate all those gluten structures to loosen up and relax. We'll add that salt in, which will then firm up the dough and mix it some more before we then bench it to let it proof a little more before shaping. See you in about 5 minutes. Alright, so 5 minutes are up. So we've let that rest a little bit. We'll pull off our plastic. Save that, set it aside nicely because you're going to want it again. Alright, now we've got our 12 grams of salt. Bump, bump, bump. Make sure your arm's still locked in place. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and bring it up to medium-ish speed, or 4 on your KitchenAid. And we'll let this go for a good 4 to 5 minutes until it really starts to form a nice dough and get a tail on the end of it. Alright, so we've got a nice elastic dough here. Got my spatula here, or bowl scraper. We've got a nice elastic firm dough here. Pull that off your dough hook. That side. And now you want to have a decent sized large bowl, lightly coated with oil. And at this point, again, we're going to let our dough rest. So, only reason I'm putting it on the scale here is so that we have a weight of what our yield is for this dough. Just to give you guys an idea. We have nice elastic dough. We'll kind of just fold that over a little bit. Plop that in your bowl. Okay, so we got 1,300 grams or 1.3 kilograms. So we'll come out to be about just around 600 grams per loaf, because this will make 2 loaves out of this. So yeah, now we'll cover our bowl and we're gonna let that sit for another 30 minutes again before we come back, scale out each loaf, then we'll shape it. And then those loaves will probably take a good 2 to 4 hours to proof and rise before bake off. Again, sourdough is not a fast bread. You've got to be patient with it. You've got to give it some love. This is not a bread that you can knock out in just a couple hours. It takes an afternoon or a morning, and it's absolutely worth it. So, plan your day accordingly. Get things done in between proofing and resting. And yeah, I'll see you again in 30 minutes. Alright, so right now I'm going to cover just how I feed my sourdough starter. After scaling out what we needed for this dough, for the bread, I then scaled out 500 grams of the starter, which is my general weight that I weigh out when I feed her. So from there, I will add 250 grams of water. Again, we'll take the bowl off the scale before stirring or whisking. Alright, we'll return back to the scale. And we are going to add 250 grams of bread flour. So the total of the water and flour equal the weight of the starter. So for 500 grams of starter, that's 250 grams of water and 250 grams of flour. And move the bowl to the scale. Give her a good stir, incorporate that all in. Yeah, that's really all as mixed as you need to get it. It's still going to be a little lumpy, which is fine. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. Scrape that off. Set that aside. And then I just return her back to her same bowl, or her bed, as I call it. Let her put her to bed, feed her and put her to bed. And that's generally that kind of consistency that you're going to have there. Kind of like a wet, goopy, paste, cold gravy kind of texture. Oh, it smells so good. And then just put her lid on. I keep my starter literally just right here on the counter, and room temperature. It's a great spot to keep her. She's out of the way, out of direct light, and using a transparent, vessel for her, I'm allowed to see, able to see her grow and rise and how active my yeast colony is, just by keeping it there on the counter. So that's how I feed my starter. I generally feed her every other day. I try to. Some weeks I get busy and she only gets fed once or twice a week. Really, as long as you keep that culture going and those communities active and fed, you're gonna be good. But if you want a really good rise on your bread, and you need to feed it frequently, especially the day before you plan on baking, you want to feed that starter, make sure that all of those little yeasty friends are just happy and excited to be alive. So that's feeding and caring for your starter. Alright, so it's been about 30 minutes or so. We're ready to pull this plastic off the bowl and scale and shape our bread. Let's see, boom. Right here onto the board here. And as I said, this is about 1,300 grams, so we're going to shoot for about 600 something. 676, 649, so we'll shoot for 660, 665. Fair enough. Alright, so we'll just leave one resting on the scale for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to shape our loaves. Easiest way to do it is just kind of doing a quick fold over and over like that. Turn it over, kind of wrap it in like that. Form your hands into kind of a cupping motion, just like this. And you're mostly going to be moving with the palm and sides of your hand right here, the bottom of the dough. You're not going to be squishing or pushing. It's more going to be a just kind of rolling using this part of your hands. And you'll feel that grip on the table. Little pro tip, if you have smooth counters and a cutting board slips around on you, a damp towel underneath the board will stop that board from sliding around on you. Just thought that might help. So yeah, you give this dough ball a nice good little couple goes around, and you feel it tighten up around the bottoms here, and it starts to mold up and form this nice ball shape. And this is all we're going for. You don't want to go too tight and make it too tense, because you're going to stress out your gluten, which we just let relax and get all loose and languid. I'll set that one on the tray over here, and we'll do the same thing with the next one. Smells so good. Okay. While I've got you guys here and you're focused on this counter space, I want to show you guys another pro tip. This is not necessarily something you have to do. It's just something I like to do to control my environment for my rising bread. So I will grab one of these just regular under the bed totes. You know, storage containers. I turn it upside down so that the lid is the base. And I will plant my loaves, or my sheet pan, right in here. I can then take a simple Pyrex dish or any small bowl that will fit on your pan. I'll fill this with hot water, as hot as I can get it out of the sink. Place it back onto the pan. And then I'll put the bottom on as a lid. This just simply creates a makeshift, you know, at-home proofing box, if you will. It keeps your dough covered so it doesn't dry out, maintains some temperature and some humidity in there to keep that dough nice and moist and let it stretch and grow. So again, all sourdoughs are different depending on how active your starter is, how warm or cool it is in your house. It's all going to have factors in how long it takes for your dough to rise and get to a good place before you're ready to bake. So this could take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. So we'll come back once this dough is ready to go. We'll give you a time frame, a time stamp, if you will, of how long it took for this to rise. A good rule of thumb for knowing when it's ready is if you just fed your starter while you were waiting for your dough to rise. If you view the activity of your starter as it starts to rise and get, you know, almost double the volume, that's about when your bread will be ready to bake. So that's a nice little rule of thumb a visual rule of thumb to know when your bread's ready. Other than that, we'll show you throwing it in the oven and baking off when we get to that point. See you soon. Alright, so we're back. It's been about 3 hours, give or take, and we're ready to score our loaves, spray them, and throw them in the oven. So let's see how they look. Just gonna move our cover here. And so yeah, they've spread out. They've definitely grown in size. We can touch them, like give them a good little nudge, and then that comes right back out. The indentation does not stay there, so this is a nice texture that we want to have on our dough. It's smooth, it's soft, it's not too dry. And as I mentioned previously, Mother has pretty much doubled in volume. She's very nice and bubbly and breathing and happy.
What we do here is go back.
So before we go in the oven, what we're going to do is we're going to score the loaves. Scoring is literally just doing a very shallow, thin cut into the top of the crust of the dough so that it allows steam to escape. So just boom, boom, boom. And then it helps to have a, say, regular spray bottle with water. Give these a good spritz. So nice and covered. In the recipe, it says also have about a 1/3 to a 1/2 cup of water. What we're going to do now is I'm going to take these in the oven, and then I've got another shallow pan in the bottom of the oven on the lower rack that I'll dump a majority of that water into it, and the rest just into the bottom, very bottom of the oven to create steam. So here we go. Moves in. Got my water here. Pouring it into our pan. And the rest, just close the door and drop your temperature down from 425 to 400. We'll set a timer for 5 minutes and then we'll spray the loaves again. Alright, first 5 minutes is up. We're going to spray our pans, our bread. One more set of 5 minutes. Alright, so that was the second round of 5 minutes. We're going to rotate the loaves, give them one last spray, and then let them finish baking off in the oven. Alright, so it'll be another 17 to 22 minutes. Generally when the bread is golden brown and has an internal temperature of anywhere between 190 degrees to 210 degrees Fahrenheit or 87 to 98 Celsius is when that bread's going to be done. So we'll see you again in about 18-ish minutes. Alright, so it's been, 18 minutes. Let's see what we've got here. Go ahead and pull out, just so you can see, this is the shallow pan that I use for pouring the water into. So something like that just works great. Alright, these look beautiful. So, a nice beautiful golden crust here. You can tell I actually could have let them sit and proof a little more. This tearing here shows that the dough is not quite stretched out and loose enough. But they're gorgeous, they smell great. Let's see here. Boom. 200 degrees, it's right in that sweet spot. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna let it rest for about 10 minutes, cut into it, and enjoy some bread. Alright, so that's pretty much baking sourdough start to finish. Mixing, shaping, proofing, baking. Now it's time to eat. So let's cut into it and see what our texture is like. They're pretty dense. Not a lot of really big holes on this rice, but still a great texture. It smells amazing. I like this crust. I'm about ready to make a sandwich. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this answers a lot of the questions you guys have been asking. A lot easier to send you a link rather than text it and try to explain. Wash your hands before you prepare food. Wash your hands before you eat. Stay human. Much love.